Hello everyone and welcome to my talk about Halo 2. Once again, like with my Halo Combat Evolved video, I'm playing this on the Xbox One, and again this is the remastered version of Halo 2. Now, unlike the Halo Combat Evolved, which had an anniversary edition on the Xbox 360, the remastered version of Halo 2 is only available on the Master Chief Collection on the Xbox One. So if you have an Xbox 360 and don't have an Xbox One and want to play this, you'd need to get an Xbox One, then get the Master Chief Collection, which you can get as a download, and you can also pick up the physical discs. I actually have both. I'll get into the whys and wherefores about that a bit later, but I'll take you all the way in the Wayback Machine, as they say, back to when Halo 2 first came out. Now, I already had the Xbox by the time Halo 2 came out. If you remember what I said in my previous video, I got Halo and the Xbox on the same day. In fact, me wanting an Xbox was really determined by Halo, and although I didn't get the game on the console at launch, it was some time later. It was about as quick as I could afford to be able to get it, and I absolutely loved it. So when I knew that a sequel was coming out, it was an absolute no-brainer for me that I was going to pre-order. God damn it, I hate that word. Order the game. I'm not going to fall for it. I hate the word pre-order because it's literally a nonsense phrase when you sit and think about it. You order something to take collection or delivery on launch. Pre-order is the thought process of doing that. Anyhow, I'm not going to get sidetracked with that. And so anyway, I ordered the game for collection on launch day, and I went down to my local game store to get it. And I remember I was picking it up on my way home from work, and I was so excited. I worked on way away, from where I lived to where I worked to where the store was. They were opposite directions. So I'm heading towards the game shop in rush hour traffic, and I was so excited to get the sequel to a game that I'd actually wanted the original Xbox for. And it was kind of funny in a way. I went into the store and they were doing the promotional thing. I don't know if they still do it now, because I've not really picked anything up from launch at that particular game store. Another one's opened, which is even more local to me, and I tend to use that one more now. But anyway, I digress. Back then, I went to the game store to pick the game up, and they had these 6.5, 7 foot high posters of the Master Chief, which was supposed to be, to the correct sort of proportions for the guy. Now, I don't know if this was a member of staff or whether they hired someone in as some kind of promotional thing, but there was a guy in there dressed up as the Master Chief. Now, if I've got my Halo mythology right, the Master Chief is supposed to be it's supposed to be 7 foot, maybe taller. He's a big guy. He's a really, really big guy. He's like a cybernetically, genetically enhanced warrior. He's big, and he's lunking around armor. I think that he weighs half a ton or something when he's got all his armor on. So he's supposedly physically imposing. When you see a Spartan, any kind of pictures of a Spartan, which is the combat unit that the Master Chief is a part of, and compare them to a normal sized person, they are big. But it would seem that the day that they were launching the game, whoever it was, they had, as I say, there was a member of staff. The other members of staff were sort of done up. They had UNSC type clothing on and stuff, so I could only assume it was a member of staff. But they didn't pick the biggest person to be dressed up as the Master Chief that they had on staff. That's all I can say. this person was probably 5'2", 5'3", and it looked kind of weird when they had the sort of life-size posters of the Master Chief, and then a guy walking around the store dressed as him that was about 2 foot shorter than the people in the posters. It sort of took you out of the experience a little bit. I guess possibly that the costume may have been this guy. If it wasn't a part of a promotional thing, maybe he was a cosplayer for the Master Chief and it was his own outfit, and therefore it was made to measure for him and he wouldn't go with anyone taller. But I just remember thinking in the store, I mean, I'm about 6'2", and the Master Chief posters were towering above me, and then I'm sort of like taller than this guy, and it was like, it just didn't seem to fit. I mean, maybe if I'd had a Master Chief costume, you could have had, like, you know, sort of the stages of different evolutionary height or something towards the Master Chief in his Spartan outfit. It was just strange, that was all. I've always found it a bit weird when people sort of dress up as things like that. The same store, when Left 4 Dead was released, they sort of tried to zombify people in the store, and I kept thinking that's probably going to give kids coming in here nightmares. I mean, okay, the kids wouldn't be buying Left 4 Dead necessarily, but they're still going to see people that look like they've been chewed on serving people behind the counter. So I always find that kind of weird, and I was always sort of thankful to not be involved in retail in those things. I guess some people really like it, but I'd find it a bit embarrassing to have to dress up as a video game character on that particular day. I love video games, but cosplay, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Sorry. But yeah, I just remember thinking that it was a bit. It was like this contrast. You know, it would be kind of like somebody dressing up in Star Wars and cosplaying as an Ewok, but they're about 7 foot tall, and you think, but why wouldn't you cosplay as Chewbacca? I guess in that sense somebody might describe it as being ironic, but it would just be kind of weird in the context of, okay, if you're going around an expo and you see that kind of thing, fair enough, but in a video game store, it wasn't what I was expecting anyway. I think it was the first time I'd ever seen something like that, so I guess it was a new thing. Like I say, I don't know if they still do it. I'm trying to think. I think the last time I was in there for a pre-order, they were still doing it, and it was one of the Call of Duty games. It might have been Black Ops. Might have been Black Ops 2, or was it Black Ops 3? Maybe could have been that. And yeah, they kind of had, but it was just sort of military garb they were wearing. It wasn't anything like that. They certainly when Halo 3 come out and I picked it up on launch day, there was a distinct lack of a sort of regular person size Master Chief, shall we say, walking around the store. But yeah, it was a little funny side, because I remember coming out of there and thinking to myself, okay, well, fair enough, I suppose. Just seemed a bit weird. I think it was more weird walking into a store and seeing a guy dressed as the Master Chief. It wasn't just like their helmet and normal clothes. It was full regalia. It was like whoever he was had gone to quite a bit of trouble. You know, they were like plastic bits for his armor and what have you, and a helmet. And he had the visor had gold on it. So I guess I don't know how he was able to see, or if it was some kind of special sort of like a one-way mirror viewing type thing he had on it. But I mean, the actual costume itself was very impressive. It's one of those moments you're like, oh, oh, hello. He didn't say anything either. He was just kind of walking around the store. I would say he was walking around the store trying to look intimidating, but the 7-foot posters were more intimidating. And a really annoying thing as well, and I asked them for this, they would not let me have them posters. I don't know if the staff already had a claim to them, but they wouldn't let me have one of them posters. I wanted a full-size Master Chief. I was going to stick it on the door in the games room, and yeah, that didn't happen. So yeah, back in the days when I had a room that I played games in, that was nice. But anyway, yeah, I did have, though, just going off topic a little bit, I did have I'm not going to say it was life size, but it was not far off life size, a cardboard cutout of the Predator creature from Predator 2. That was like on a 3D stand, and I had it when I was a kid. I had it in the corner of my room. I'll say a kid, I was about 16 when it come out, and that was great because I used to just leave that in random areas and scare the living shit out of people. That was a great thing. But yeah, anyway, I was denied. They never really gave away promotional stuff. I guess, as I say, maybe the staff of the store had claim to it, but the video rental place that I got the Predator 2 thing, they would actually give out promotional posters that they would put up on the store when they would take them down. They would actually give them to you. Sort of back in the 80s and early 90s, I used to have quite a few really cool posters that I got from there, but it's amazing how things change. But yeah, I was a bit sad about that. But anyway, that's enough about the strange occasion of picking up the game. You know, though I will say, for people that buy things digitally and download digitally, you miss out on little bits of memory like that. That's for certain. So, back to the game. So yeah, you can see I'm dual wielding a couple of plasma rifles, and this was one of the things that they put into the game. Can you say it was an improvement? I suppose it depends on which way you looked at it. I actually thought it added to it. I thought it was pretty cool. You can't dual wield every weapon, but I remember people at the time were somewhat upset. Not massively upset, but sort of complained that it took up too much of the screen. Which, you know, I can see that. I never played this online, so I guess maybe that was more of an issue. I always played this just for the campaign alone, and I never really thought it was that bad. It certainly wouldn't be as bad on the Master Chief collection, because you're dealing with much higher resolution, which tends to make things smaller and more detailed. So yeah, it was probably more of an issue back in the day, and I guess people didn't have high definition TVs. I don't know whether high definition TVs had actually become in the mainstream when this come out. I think that was more after the 360 launched, I think, in and around that time. So yeah, the majority of people, I would say, were still playing on standard definition televisions, which all vary in different sizes and what have you. Probably would have made it a little bit more irritating to look at, I suppose, especially if you was trying to play split screen. That probably would have been a bit of a nightmare, but certainly for the single player element it wasn't much of a problem. The other thing as well that they changed up in this was you were no longer playing as just one character. You were no longer playing as the Master Chief, you also played as the Arbiter. And the Arbiter was essentially he kind of he's the fall guy for what happens in Halo, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil the story of Halo, but basically the events of Halo, the Covenant kind of blame on him. He sort of becomes their go-to guy to blame, and rather than sort of execute him outright, he becomes the arbiter, which is essentially like a suicide mission that he ends up going on. And that's pretty cool because you get to experience the game from the viewpoint of one of the elites, one of the Covenant elites, and you get to use the energy sword, and you get to have the active camouflage that they have as well. And it was a nice touch. You could see that Bungie were trying to expand the horizons of the game, rather than just do a rehash of the original Halo, which would have been a very easy trap for them to fall into because the original Halo was so popular. They actually wanted to, add a lot of depth, change things up, make things a bit more interesting, to add new bad guys, add new set pieces, change up the environments, like here on Earth in New Mombasa, where the Covenant have attacked. You are taken to different places, and they also expanded on one of the other bad guys, the Flood, which you come across in the original Halo. They start to expand upon that in this as well. Now, one of the things that happened, I was really excited to get this game. I got this game and what have you, and for some reason, and I would really love to be able to put my finger on it, but I guess the old thing of getting distracted by too many games, and then the Xbox 360 coming out, I never actually got to finish the actual Halo 2 campaign prior to getting it on the Master Chief Collection. Now, I got really far into the game. I think I only had about an hour and a half of gameplay left. And it was one of those things where, and I'm sure many of you have had it out there, you get a game and you think to yourself, yeah, I'll finish it, because another game comes out that you play and you get distracted with that. That happened to me more times than I would care to imagine. You end up not finishing a particular game, even though you really like it. And I also have this sort of, it's like a weird thing, a weird kind of psychological issue with, if I really like a game, I don't want it to end, and I don't want to finish the campaign, and sometimes I'll kind of drag my feet with it quite a ways, in the hope that I don't know what I'm hoping for, to be perfectly honest with you, because the game's going to end at some point. But yeah, I always have that kind of don't really want this to end, and I sometimes don't finish, or used to not finish games until the sequel had come out. And I think part of me was always like, I'm going to hang fire until Halo 3 comes out, because I knew Halo 3 was going to come. And of course Halo 3 come out, and I do remember, because I could play the original Halo 2 on the Xbox 360 via backwards compatibility, thinking to myself, I'm going to go and play it, I'm going to finish this now. And I never did. And I'm trying to think if I got stuck. I don't think I even got stuck. I think it was just the fact that back then, when Halo 3 came out on the 360, I was playing games online a bit as well, like Call of Duty 2, games like that, Gears of War. And I kind of got a bit distracted. Not necessarily by Gears of War, but certainly the Call of Duty games, 2 and 3. And I think it was just like the launch of Halo 3 crept up. And then when that come out, I got that, and I want to play this. I want to play the new Halo game. And I always had that, oh, I'll get back to Halo 2. I'll finish Halo 2. I'll get back to it. And I never did. Until the Master Chief Collection come out. And it was kind of funny because as the original Halo inspired me to want the original Xbox, the Master Chief Collection, and especially the fact that it had the remastered version of Halo 2 with additional cutscenes in that they were using to sort of link the original Halo trilogy to more towards the new trilogy, and in particular Halo 5. Because of that, I wanted an Xbox One. Now, before they announced the Master Chief Collection, I wasn't really that fussed about the Xbox One, and not because I don't like Microsoft consoles. I had an Xbox 360, but at that particular point, the only game I really felt that I desperately wanted to play was Forza 5, and I'd heard things about Forza 5 being mired with microtransactions, which I'm not really a big fan of at all. And I just thought, well, it was a lot of money for the console when it come out. It also had the mandatory Kinect, which I hated Kinect. I had Kinect for the 360, thought it was just a pile of junk, and couldn't stand it. And I didn't really want to pay for something I was never going to use. It was as simple as that. Kinect was always going to stay in the box. And then Microsoft ditched the Kinect. They lowered the price of the console and lowered it. Then the Master Chief Collection came out, and I was like, right, okay, I do want this console now. Like Forza Horizon 2 was out, and I enjoyed the original Forza Horizon. So slowly there was this library of games built up that I did want to play. And of course, they'd announced they would remastering Gears of War, and I loved that series. And then of course they were announcing that Gears of War 4 was going to come out, and I thought, right, I want an Xbox One now. And I actually got an Xbox One with the Master Chief Collection, primarily so I could play this. Annoyingly though, true to form, it was just a code inside the box. There was no game disc or anything like that, so I had to download it. And even on fibre optic internet, it took an absolute bloody age to download. I was so frustrated. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to play this game. So eventually I got it downloaded, and I thought, I can't just jump into like Halo 2, right? I've got to start with the original Halo Combat Evolved that was on there, because the Master Chief Collection has Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3 and Halo 4. So I had to play through them, because of course, you know. So I got through the anniversary edition of Halo Combat Evolved, and then on to Halo 2, and I finally finished Halo 2. Playing through that, then I played through Halo 3 and Halo 4. So, as I've said before, all the game footage for the Halo games you've seen are taken from the Master Chief Collection, and that will be the same with Halo 3 and Halo 4, even though they don't have anywhere near the same amount of remastering. I think there's performance enhancements, but they're pretty much as they were when they were released. I think they might have improved the resolution perhaps a bit, ironed out any performance issues and what have you, but I mean they're not massively improved in the same way that they are here. For example, I mean the difference between, you know, Halo 2 on the Xbox One and on the original Xbox is massive. So anyway, here you can see a little bit. I thought I'd put in a little bit here where I was playing as the Arbiter, so you could see a bit of that. One of the things that kind of annoyed me, you know, is that he's got his energy sword, but the bloody thing doesn't last very long. For some reason, the energy sword has well, it's not an ammo counter, I suppose. It's an energy counter, which every time you use it, it depletes, which is kind of annoying for a melee weapon. I guess they did it for balancing purposes, but it would have been nice for it not to have depleted, because you're basically having to run at people. They see I've just engaged the cloak there, and of course once you get shot and hit somebody, your cloaking device goes out the window. But yeah, that would have been great if the energy sword had had like sort of boundless energy to it. You'd have been able to charge in there and kick the living crap out of things. But I guess they were trying to play off the fact that, you know, the Arbiter isn't supposed to be a juggernaut as such. He's supposed to be somebody who is essentially cannon fodder and is going to end up dead. So the idea is not to overpower him in any way, shape or form. So yeah, getting on quite a bit with this now. I love this. I loved Halo 2. I remember the review scores at the time, by and large, were excellent. Let's say, I think any gripes people had about the sort of guns, and I think some people were a little bit disenchanted with the ending. I didn't have a problem with it. I'm not going to spoil it, but I think people perhaps felt that it was a little bit... No, I'm not even going to say it. They just... I think that when you play it as part of the collection, it's not an issue, but I could definitely see... I think had I made it to the end of the game originally, I probably would have been like, oh, because then you've got the wait then for the third game. Which, I mean, I always assumed the third game was always going to be planned anyway, so... You know, I don't think that would in of itself was an issue, but I could imagine there's the difference between waiting, a bit like waiting, getting to the end of Empire Strikes Back, and then having to wait 2 or 3 years for Return of the Jedi. That would have been a real bummer. It always kind of makes me laugh when people talk about how wonderful Empire Strikes Back is. It's like, are you viewing that from the prism of being able to watch Return of the Jedi straight away and know what happens? Because if you watched that and had to wait 2 or 3 years for Return of the Jedi, it would do your head in. It would drive you insane. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Empire Strikes Back. It's fabulous. It's a great film. But the ending to that, you know, where it's just like, okay, kind of a cliffhanger ending in some respects. You know, it's like, that would have driven me mad, thinking, God, I've got to wait 2 or 3 years for the resolution of this story. I love nothing more than being able to watch a story in its entirety. So, you know, I guess the kind of similar thing with Halo 2 was the middle of a planned trilogy. You then had to wait for Halo 3. And I guess because Halo 3 debuted on the Xbox 360, didn't come out on the original Xbox, yeah, I can imagine that would have probably driven people a bit mad. Not because it's bad, but because it's like, I really want to know what happens next. You know, that kind of thing. So I can see it from that angle, but I don't think it's criticism of the game more than it's more of a criticism of having to wait for that resolution. But yeah, it's excellent. I absolutely love Halo 2. It was a well-worthy sequel. You know, it amps things up in the right way, escalates things up in the right way, adds new features to the gameplay correctly. I never really felt anything felt gimmicky. Nothing really come across as gimmicky or throwaway. There was a lot of care and love and attention put into it by Bungie. They clearly wanted to build on the original game. They didn't want to cop out. They wanted to add new things and yet still keep fans of the original game happy, which is a lot harder thing to do than you think. because it doesn't take much to push a game too far in a particular direction that can then ruin the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it really. That's all I've got to say on Halo 2. Other than the fact that, again, you know, if you don't have an Xbox, or you have an Xbox 360, believe me, it's still worth trying to track down the original Halo 2, because that will play via backwards compatibility. I don't know how much it would cost you to get now, but it's certainly well worth tracking down. If you've got an Xbox One and you haven't got the Master Chief Collection, and you should be able to pick that up really cheap now, especially like second hand. I got the second hand discs and it cost me £12 as a backup to my download code. So yeah, it's well worth checking out. It's a fantastic game, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So stay tuned to my channel for more to come, and